Yellowstone is home to a wide variety of animal life within its 3,000 square miles. Recent fires scorched a large portion of the park's terrain, eliminating much of the feeding ground for these animals. This, combined with heavy snowfall during the winter, has been responsible for a large number of animals migrating outside the park boundaries in search of food. One species in particular, the American bison, or buffalo, is the center of a much heated controversy as they stray into areas where their presence is not welcome. Once they cross Yellowstone Park's boundary and wander onto state land and private property, the buffalo discover that the wide open plains of the past have vanished. What awaits the animals instead are hunters, anxious to participate in the largest buffalo hunt since the turn of the century.
On the shot placement, there's two good places to shoot one of these, and they'll go down pretty fast. We want them to go down quick. And that's either right under the horn, about 3 inches back from the base of the horn, about that far back. And if you don't feel comfortable with that, don't try it, because a crippling shot up there can be, we can lose the buffalo. It can be hard to tell even which one to hit. So if you're not comfortable with it, don't try it. If you are, go ahead and do that.
Under a state law designed to protect Montana's cattle industry, stray buffalo can be shot by hunters selected by lottery. Half of Yellowstone's buffalo herd is thought to be infected with a disease called brucellosis. Ranchers maintain that brucellosis can be transmitted to cattle. Livestock owners fear that bison will infect their cattle with this disease, which may cause females to abort their calves.
Well, even if they didn't have brucellosis, and brucellosis is the main problem. If you're in a cattle operation, you're required by law to keep your cattle off the highway. Bison don't respect fences. They'll run right through your fences and tear your fences down. Then your cattle will be out on the highway, and somebody will be smacking into a cow, and you can be sued that way. Other than that, buffalo eat a lot of feed. Well, after living here all your life, and this is the United States, and you pay your income tax, and you pay your taxes, and it's your land. And these buffalo come on, it kind of takes your property rights away from you. It'd be the same thing as letting a burglar come into a store and just rob what he wanted.
Not everyone perceives brucellosis to be a genuine threat. The Greater Yellowstone Coalition, a Montana-based environmental group, watches over the management practices of the park.
First of all, brucellosis has never been known to be transmitted in the wild situation as we have here from bison to cattle, so it really poses no substantive threat to the future of those ranching interests, which are only 14 operations in total at this point, compared to the millions of people who use Yellowstone Park. So brucellosis is not the issue or the real threat. The real issue is the question of sharing a resource with an animal, in this case the size of a pickup truck that roams just about any place it wants to, that walks through fences for breakfast, and is quite an imposing creature that requires a considerable amount of respect on the part of anybody who is in the place that it is in, whether it's a tourist in Yellowstone Park, at a campground, or a rancher outside the park.
Buffalo are big animals. They take a bullet that penetrates with massive power. Now, this is a Remington Safari Grade 375 out of the custom shop. Probably the most recognized gun in the world, caliber-wise, for large game hunting. It's been around since 1912. Certainly would work on buffalo. Should penetrate both shoulders, which is what you need. You can't get away with a gun that won't penetrate a lot of bone. Buffalo are real thick, and you've got to get through the first shoulder and get into the heart and the lungs. And it helps to have it come out the other shoulder, then you got a blood trail on both sides of the animal.
Hunters wait for the sighting of the buffalo so the hunt can begin.
Hopefully they're down there somewhere. Putting her hand there.
Well, I'll tell you what my granddaddy used to tell me as I was growing up, and he was teaching me how to hunt. And that was they're like gold. They're where you find them. So, you know, you got to take the bitter with the sweet. Hopefully they show up. But if they don't, then we were all out here and had a heck of a nice time together, didn't we?
You know, we're paying $200 for the privilege of hunting these animals, and we're doing the state a favor in terms of, you know, maintaining brucellosis free.
Buffalo hunting is not new to this country. Millions of buffalo once roamed freely across the western plains until pioneers arrived and took over the frontier. During the 1870s, 2 to 4 million bison were shot each year. Buffalo hunting became so widespread that over 200,000 hides were once sold in St. Louis on a single day. Apart from the sale of their hides, buffalo were also killed for their meat, but primarily they were killed for sport. As civilization spread across the wild frontier, the buffalo were pushed to the brink of extinction. Descended from the herds of the past, Yellowstone's once sparse buffalo population has recovered. Today, there are nearly 2,000 animals. Up until 1967, park policy was to kill buffalo within Yellowstone's boundaries to maintain a manageable herd size of under 400 animals. Public outcry against such herd reduction practices forced the park to adopt a hands-off approach regarding the buffalo.
Here in Yellowstone, where nature is allowed to call the shots, we like to say that God is permitted to play God in Yellowstone. The wildlife will reach a balance with nature. You see, we don't have the whole ecosystem for the buffalo to roam. If you would give the buffalo a choice, not only would they be outside the park, but they would repopulate the total plains of the United States. And we know that isn't possible anymore. And so national parks are not islands unto themselves. There has to be cooperative management across the boundary.
Over the years, Yellowstone has attempted various methods to prevent buffalo from straying outside the park. Fences were built to restrict their movement, but the buffalo either found alternate routes or simply knocked the fences down. Helicopters, firecrackers, and pre-recorded wolf howls also proved unsuccessful in scaring the buffalo back into the park. After much frustration, park managers realized they could not control where the buffalo roam. The problem is now in the hands of the state of Montana.
Our preferred alternative would be if some way the buffalo would some way stay in the park, or the Park Service would take care of the problem within the park. And whether that's their responsibility or not, I mean, I guess that's debatable. The point is that once they do cross the park line, you know, it is the responsibility of the state of Montana. As a Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Department, our business is furnishing recreation through hunting opportunities. The best way for us to do that is to allow hunters to do it.
It was quite exciting for me as I was drawn for the buffalo hunt at Gardner. It was an opportunity of a lifetime, and they called 2 days ahead of time to forewarn us that we had been drawn and that we were next in line to go for the hunt. Each person is drawn by number, and you wait your turn. And so I was quite excited. Couldn't sleep for a couple days. And of course I had to get ready, get the rifle ready and everything, and really be convinced this is really what I wanted to do, but I knew that it was. And then the warden took us into this rancher's pasture, and we walked down. It was a nice open meadow, and there was about 40 head of buffalo, a nice group of buffalo.
When I got up there, I was really excited, and I was walking up and seeing the buffalo up there, and it was pretty exciting, and it was pretty warm out there. wasn't cold like I had expected. And pretty nervous.
Last winter's buffalo hunt was the center of much controversy as the number of animals killed escalated dramatically.
As I said before, I think the mythical comes from the fact that brucellosis is being used as the reason for controlling bison when in fact it's not a severe threat to cattle in a wild situation. And the fact that other animals as well carry brucellosis, for example elk, and no one really wants to talk about that because elk are the darlings of the American people and bison are in some ways second-class citizens.
This bison hunt is deployed by the Park Service and the State Department of Fish, Wildlife, and Parks to provide targets for hunters. The spending priorities of the Yellowstone National Park is completely mixed up. They shouldn't be catering to the tourists. They should be catering to the ecosystem and the animals that they are responsible for, that the Congress has mandated that they take care of.
When they were within a good range, the warden told the one fellow that was ahead of us, he said, pick out what you would like to shoot, and when you see an opportunity where it's clear and you won't hit no other buffalo, go ahead and take your shot.
Oh, you go up to him and you shoot him about right here, behind the shoulder, a little higher than that. And I missed that area and I got his arm about right here, busted his arm. And then I went for it again, and I got him down about where I was supposed to. And then he kind of staggered, and he walked a little ways. And then I shot him in the head, in the neck, over here, and that killed him off.
The Fun for Animals is here today to protest this bison slaughter. This year we wanted to come down and do a hunt sabotage to get in the way of these hunters and frustrate them and try to prevent them from killing bison. We don't feel that this hunt is necessary, and we want to come right where the hunters are and risk our lives and put ourselves between the hunters and the hunted.
There's about 10 or 11 people from Funds for Animals that are working the buffalo back up along the bank. I don't think they're going to get them very far, but they're trying to work them up that way. What's happening, or what's going to happen, we're going to leave the choice to you three hunters. You have a perfect legal right to go down there and take your buffalo if you'd like to do that.
What happened? Oh, we got a whole bunch of people on skis down there. No, not safe. What happened there?
Just wasn't safe shooting. They didn't want to hurt anybody. They got in the way.
Who was in the way?
The Friends of the Fuzzies.
We'll be out here as long as it takes. We're hoping that they, based on our presence here, they will decide to call off the hunt for a day, perhaps call it off for several days, meet with representatives of the Fund for Animals.
Yeah, you know, we're all safe hunters. We don't want anybody hurt. And they'll get tired sooner or later. We got snowmobiles, they got skis. We'll do it.
Nancy, run!
They got another one! You ready to go? Hey, bud!
You still feel good about this?
They're hunting to appease the hunting lobby. That's what this is. They want to hunt bison. Hunters want to be able to stick a different kind of head on the wall, and that's what all this is about.
That's simply what it is. In '85, when the legislature decided to let hunters do this, it wasn't the cattlemen that lobbied for this. In respect to the brucellosis issue, it was the hunters that lobbied for this.
How do you feel right now?
Tired. It was a lot of work on everybody's part, I think. These fellers that are up here trying to stop it worked every bit as hard as anybody else. You have to admire them for that, as far as I'm concerned. They have their side, and I'm part of the Montana Bison Control Program, and I have my side. I did what I had to do, and they did what they felt they had to do. I think there's a place for both, as far as I'm concerned.
I consider myself sort of a guardian of this final refuge, Yellowstone area. I grew up here, and most of my knowledge I have of the world I got from spending summers in Yellowstone Park with these bison and with the animals and just being around them. So their spirit is very much part of me.
Well, I wish these animal rights groups had to make a living out here and had to live out here. I think they would change their viewpoint. You know, this is American people. They're in business, have rights. You know, and sure we've got to accept a few things, you know, because we live in this area. But I'll never accept this buffalo situation. It's entirely different. Within 5 years, I'll have 3 kids in college, and any American knows that it costs a lot of money to send children through college, and it's a parent's obligation in life to educate his kids with the best means that he has available. And by the best means, I don't want to see some buffalo take my kids' opportunity for a college education. I mean, to take it away from them, that wouldn't be right.
Oh yes, this is my buffalo skull here. It was a young bull, as you can see, and I did not want to mount the head up, so I cleaned the skull and have it hanging there on the fireplace now.
You get a lot of people that don't like the idea. Like, I got a lot of comments at school that people are like, oh, that's mean and stuff like that. But I like it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
If you use the meat, utilize the meat, and do it in a sporting fashion, I don't see where it's wrong at all to hunt buffalo. They have to be harvested. If the hunter didn't get them, they'd die out in the wild.
Somebody would.
So the hunter might as well have them and
use them.
And use them. Just like timber, they have to be harvested.
It was a very special feeling for me. I'm very close with the Indian people, and knowing what they went through and how the buffalo provided their whole existence, it did mean a lot to me, and it makes you think of how very fortunate we are, and especially I think here in Montana we have the opportunities that so many people will never have in their lifetime. And when we had our buffalo barbecue, we honored the buffalo as the Indians did in their day. There seems to be boundaries for wildlife and boundaries for people. And the people are basically out of bounds and creeping into the habitat of the wildlife. And little by little, we see human advancement cutting off the populations of wildlife in different areas. It's a very difficult thing to find a balance for. Man wants to live, and we want to keep some wildlife. It's just a real difficult situation.
Part of the problem that Yellowstone's future faces is the vestige of the frontier myth, the frontier mentality, the mentality that says I can do absolutely anything I want on my land, that you're not going to tell me what to do. Maybe this is a place where the frontier mentality, as we have dreamt it up in the past, doesn't make a whole lot of sense anymore. Where there is some national interest in what happens on a particular landowner's land. And maybe there is a need for some of those landowners to bend just a bit and recognize these other interests. And if we continue, though, with our don't tell me what to do on my land attitude, we may be looking down the barrel at extinctions of populations in this ecosystem. That's all there is to it.